Hey, John Hope Bryant, entrepreneur, coming to you with a different take on a popular discussion on race. So, I've had a lot of my trusting white friends, meaning trusting meaning they trust me to be vulnerable and unpack and ask me questions that they may otherwise be uncomfortable asking. And, one of the major questions is, John, is there really a difference between black and white? Like, I struggled hard, they'll say. I came up from nothing. I had nothing coming growing up. I had, 2 meals a day and had bread and water. That you hear the whole story of struggle and life was not was not easy for me, and nothing was handed to me on a silver platter. And is there a real difference? I understand your people have been discriminated against, but doesn't that apply? And these are people, they mean well when they ask the question, right? So let me give you an answer. Yes, there is difference, right? There's two differences. Number one, white friends, my white friends, white folks, never think about the fact that they're white. I discovered this. I want to give the Racial Racial Equity Institute, I believe it's their name. I think it's Racial Equity Institute, proper credit. I was in a session with them, and they brought this up. They did a proper survey of some very brilliant people. I'm trying to make sure I got their right name in both black and white. And after a couple of days of trust, Racial Equity Institute, REI, check them out. After a couple of days of trust building, they asked the question like, what does it mean to be white and what does it mean to be black? And the white folks were saying, I'm instantly trusted. I take, I'm given the benefit of the doubt. I don't have to prove myself. Immediate acceptance. All these things. Okay, right. But basically, they said, I never think about that I'm white. Black folks think about it all the time. Okay, if you're black, you think about being black every dang on day. And unfortunately, some folks think about it every minute. I certainly think about it every day. And I'm not, if you know me, you've been listening to my stuff, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. But I'm conscious of the fact that I'm black every day. It's exhausting, actually. You got to structure your life in your conversation so you make people comfortable, don't make them uncomfortable. You got to flow a certain way. You got to be over credentialed, get up early, stay up later. You got to understand people are looking at you differently when you come into a room. They underwrite your credits differently. I was talking to a banker today, and I got initially discounted for a credit I wanted to get, a prime credit, and then approved later on. But in a real talk conversation, the guy was like, I think that one of the bankers met you earlier, and you were so liked or whatever by the higher ups. He thought you were cocky. I said, so wait a minute, if I'm my billionaire friends who walk in, they just say that that's the way a billionaire rolls. He's confident. But because I'm a black guy with confidence, you're going to call it cocky. This is what I'm saying? So I got to decrease. So tap down, be meek so that I don't overwhelm people with something that, if you're white, is taken for granted. It's exhausting being African-American. And you got, if you're being pulled over by the police, that's not an issue that white folks deal with. It goes on and goes on. So if you're white, first part of this, you don't think about being white at all. It just an is. The world caters to you, all right? And you're instantly trusted. If you're black, you think about being black all the time. Very interestingly, the white folks were talking about basically the whiteness, because they don't think about it, as how the other folks relate to them. Black folks were talking about, they define blackness by relentlessness, by resiliency, by spirituality, about never giving up, and it's all these internal spiritual things about basically coping with the fact that it's an uneven playing field. Okay, so where did affirmative action come from? Okay, white people. Okay, white folks are the original affirmative action because you're white. By the way, that word was created, I've learned now, in the 1600s. It was a manufactured word from those who were involved in the slave trade, because they didn't want poor whites to rise up against the elite white class. So they wanted to say, hey, they were afraid the blacks and whites, poor blacks and poor whites would get together and rise up against the privileged class. So they created this word. That's right. The word white was manufactured, right? Before that, it was all about class all around the world for as long as you remember. White, this thing that we argue about, It's a created word. It was created through class structure, through money, to convince poor whites, unfortunately for them, because they didn't get anything other than a title, that they were with the rich whites. Crazy stuff, ain't it? And of course, different from the black folks. Now, what does white really mean? Anything but black. So if you're Asian, you can become white. If you're Latin, you can become white, meaning you can mainstream, you can blend in. If you're Cuban, you can become white. Come to America, light skin, change your name, mainstream. If you're Polish, Irish, from Ireland, from Italy, all these things. But if you're black forever, right? And I have to be twice as good, twice as smart, twice as intelligent. Get up twice as early, stay up twice as late, work twice as hard. If you're black, you're born on probation in America and don't have a chip on your shoulder about it. That's just the way a TI is. It's almost like Black America, that God put blacks on this planet to be a bit of a consciousness raising, right? That the world's not fair. And so we are that bellwether. We wear that burden on our shoulders. But the original affirmative action is white itself. This guy told me, look, I wasn't part of a country club. I wasn't part of I was poor, and I wasn't part of some country club or some private club. I said, yes, you were. It's called the white club. Okay, if you're white, you got to prove, and you're on a job, right? If you're black, you got to prove you're competent. If you're white, you have to prove you're incompetent in order to have that job to be at risk. If you want to get the job, you're black, you got to prove you're competent. If you want to lose a job, if you're white, you almost got to prove you're incompetent. There's a big joke that black folks are the last hired and the first fired because we don't have the relationship capital, because we stick out, we're different. And I love being black, by the way. Chris Rock, I think it was, said on a stand-up skit, he said, I'm rich and I'm famous. And it's not a white person in here who changed their life for me. So this one guy was saying, again, hey, I'm not part of a country club. And I said, yes, you are. It's the white country club. I got to do stuff that you don't have to do. I got to credential myself and show up in a way that other people do not, that you do not. He finally acknowledged that. Then the second thing is, white folks will say, well, I struggled hard. I was poor. No. You were broke. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind, a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. If you were the white immigrant of a white family and you came into this country through hook, crook, plane, train, automobile, boat, through your grandfather, through their grandmother, whatever, and they got here with $2 in their pocket and said, I'm going to live the American dream, you're either, I put this in my book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, and my other quote was from the book, The Memo, so I just quoted two of my books, by the way. There's a new one coming out next month called Up From Nothing, get that. I said, if you're the descendant of that energy, that your grandparents were either criminally insane, nuts, or they have high self-esteem and confidence, and they were going to do anything with nothing because they just believe, right? They have that winning mentality. And you're the descendant of that person. So maybe you struggled, didn't have a meal, I'll give you that. But you never questioned whether you're going to succeed or fulfill your destiny in this world. Did you? You never questioned whether you were going to go out here and kill it on your own grit. And they're like, yeah, I just knew if I worked hard. Exactly. But if you're the descendant of blacks, you didn't come here on your own will. You came here as a slave. And there was 246 years of active slavery, call it 250, where you were told you ain't S-H-I-T every single day. You ain't nothing. And your self-esteem was built, and your confidence was built, beat out of you. And if you're a descendant of that legacy, you don't wake up in the morning believe that if you work hard and play by the rules and do the right thing, the world's going to work out for you. You actually feel rather hopeless. And the most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. And so so you're not broke, you're poor. And that's why you have these dimensions now. White, part of this natural club where you don't have to work hard to be accepted. Black, you stick out like a sore thumb. You got to be twice as everything as everybody else. And you're not given the assumption of credibility and all that kind of stuff. And you're inherited this low self-esteem and confidence and lack of confidence that the world has embedded in you, and the systems were wrapped against you. And we even have modern day affirmative action for white people. It's called the PPP program, which I might tell you I had a hand in developing parts of it. But that wasn't racial. It's just that those who had the preparation, the banker, the business plan, the accountant, the books and records to get the PPP money tied to COVID-19, they got the money. But my black friends who lacked that preparation, because 96% of all businesses that are black don't have books and records, didn't get it. And is that racial? It's class, but it's based on 400 years of 300 years of racial discrimination, all right, which originally was based in class. Anyway, I've gone too far, but that's a big difference between black and white, how it plays out. There is a difference, and every day I have to work harder than everybody else, every meeting, every deal, to get the same thing or even less than my white counterparts. It's no problem, because I never want to have a but next to my name. I never want to have anybody say, you know, I respect that John Bryant, but I would back that John Bryant, but my job is to be twice as good as anybody else when I show up, so that I will not be denied, and I do that. That's the way I roll. By the way, that credit I was denied, I was given that plus on merit. But you've got to, you just got to understand this playing field's not level, and don't get mad. Get even. and the way you get even is to succeed widely and wildly, and do it, you know, playing by the rules. Just be smarter than everybody else in the room. That's the way I roll. I want you to go to Operation Hope and sign up to Hope Financial Coaching at a Hope Inside location near you. Because of our partners, the services are free. Love and light. Let me know what you think about the comment and leave the comments below on what you think about this wild video message. What resonated with you? All right, I'll respond.